Hi all, this is Skates, and oh yes, it's a TOG. A tank that is so bad, it's good. I'm deadly serious, it is a good tank. This tank is bad. It is bad, and that's what makes this tank good. Everybody loves this tank. Everybody loves the tank because it's just so stupid. This tank has got more nicknames than any other tank. When I play this tank, I receive more positive comments from the team than when I play any other tank. And that's just before the game's even started. If you're having a bad run, or you're stressed out, get a TOG, jump in the TOG, and people will comment. Look, there's a TOG, there's a school bus, sunshine bus, Queen Victoria class dreadnought, HMS TOG, battleship, useless fat tank. There's so many names, and they're all funny. Because when you see this tank, you can't help but laugh. I mean, look at it. It's enormous. There's also so many funny pictures made on this tank. They told me I can be anything, so I became a battleship. Or I want to tell you a joke about the TOG too, but it's too long. Or my personal favourite, and I can't help but sing this when I'm taking my TOG into battle. But row, row, row my boat gently through their team, merrily, 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 listening to their screams. Admit it, how many of you wanted me to actually sing that? It's... Seriously, I've played over 100 games in my TOG, and I still go out into battle, and I still can't help but sing that in the back of my head. And I am willing to guarantee, after watching this video, some of you are going to jump in your TOGs, start driving off and go, row, row, row my boat. Damn it, Skate! Okay, I'm going to be serious for a bit, because I do want to make, or provide what I can think of as some useful information on this tank. Because people laugh at me when I sit there and say, did you know you can reverse sidescrape a TOG? And people do laugh at me for it, but you can reverse sidescrape a TOG. And in fact, you can sidescrape the TOG in general. It's so big, you can actually bait people to shoot the side of it. And you can produce bounces at the right angle. In fact, you're better off trying to persuade people to shoot at the side of this tank than you are trying to persuade them to shoot at the front. Because you will produce more bounces off the angled side of this than you will off the front of the tank. And if you turn the tank slightly, most people I've come across will just automatically try and aim for the side. And you'll get a lot of bounces as a result. And it's only after doing that a couple of times, people go, oh, hang on, I'd better shoot the front. So if you know what you're doing, you're just going to shoot the front of a TOG regardless, rather than just going for the sides, unless obviously you get a broad, flat side. So, let me show you my loadouts quickly, just so you can see how I'm running it, and then we'll get in some battles, because I have some fun battles to show you. Before we do though, I'm just going to point out that yes, I run camo on this massive thing. Not because it helps to hide the tank, you don't hide a TOG. The reason I put camo on this tank is because it gives you the best value for money than any other camo on any other tank. Quite simply because you get more for your money. Look how much camo I've got on that for the same price as every other tier 6. Ah, that's a dad joke right there, isn't it? So, my equipment. I run vents, a gun lane drive, and a rammer. And then on an ammunition front, I will run 4 HE, 22 APCR, and 118 AP, which is more ammo than you will ever need. In fact, I run 22 APCR, but you will never and ever use them all. And then on provisions front, tea, and more tea, and then obviously some fuel as well, but forget about that, it's all about the tea. And adrenaline, multi-purpose restoration pack, and a repair kit. There's no valid reason, by the way, for me flicking back to provisions here. I just wanted to highlight the fact you need to put tea in this thing. It is British at the end of the day. And this, my friends, is the TOG power stance. This is the reversed side-scraping TOG. We are shooting at this with the top gun on the Cromwell, which has 144 penetration, and yeah, you could barely pen the side or the rear of a TOG when you're angled at the right angle. The problem is it takes so long to get that massive long thing there to turn around and get it into a side scraping position. So, the way I try to drive it 90% of the time, not with the turret backwards, if I turn the turret around first, and then if I turn it this angle, that's the sort of angle I try and drive my TOG everywhere. Yes, most people will pen the front of you, but people will automatically try and aim for the sides. but they won't pen the side. Which makes me laugh, because you would never expect this of the TOG. And obviously, as you can see, if you're trying to side scrape, you drive the front into the building and just bait people to shoot the side of the tank. Once they have shot, then you reverse back, and then you shoot them in return. Naturally, this isn't guaranteed, this won't work all the time, but who cares? You have more health than any other tank at tier 6. So it doesn't matter, because you've got so much health you can just absorb what they put at you. So aside from having more health pool than any other tier 6 tank, and in all fairness the majority of tier 7s, this thing also has more DPM than any other tier 6 heavy tank. The only exception would be the KV2 firing the HE. However, the KV2 doesn't penetrate every single time with that HE. This thing should. It has 171mm of penetration on the standard AP. That is the second highest penetration of any other tier 6 heavy tank. The only one that beats this is the ARL with 212 on its AP, but that thing carries an outrageous gun. So aside from that, this thing has phenomenal penetration. So, first game out, we are bottom tier. So we are against tier 7s. So let's see how we get on in the TOG in a tier 7 game. And yes, I am going to try and reverse side scrape my TOG in this one. Purely because, well, one idiot's running around the corner, so I am going to track him. And while tracking him on the move, I'm then going to get myself behind the building, and he has penned my side, but then, as I mentioned earlier, ARLs have absolutely outrageous penetration values. Now we've got our front by the building, I am going to use this to side scrape off, and let's try and produce some bounces while getting some shots in. Where are we looking? So there's the VK by there, we get one into him, we bounce a return shot, I don't know who that was from, we bounced another one, and the T-25-2 does penetrate us. But we did take off his track, which is another thing with this tank. With the rate of fire, you want to be taking off those tracks as much as you can. So we are going to try again for the track, we do miss it, and that sadly has allowed the T-25-2 to get back into cover. So I'm trying to angle a little bit better, we produce another bounce, and we'll go for the IS track, and we bounced 122mm of the IS. See, the armor's not all bad on a TOG. Granted, it's not the greatest, but you can make it work, you really can. So there's one out. And my team have already taken 2 out as well, make that 3 out. So now I have plenty of health, I don't really care if people penetrate me, because, well, I have more health than them. And for some reason, when people see a TOG, they get all excited and come straight out of cover to try and shoot it. Reality is, though, this thing has so much health, you can literally just go after tank after tank after tank and just nail them. The problem is, though, is things like this KV3 hasn't realised how long I am, so as I'm trying to get around the corner, he's pushing into the back of me, which is pushing me towards the left, even though I was trying to turn right. But one of those things. So that was a tier 7 game. We got a first for that, 52,000 credits and 1,700 damage. This thing is actually pretty good on credits, by the way. Now in this game we are top tier, and in this game I don't really get the opportunity to side scrape much, so as a result I'm more dependent in this one on my massive health pool than anything else. So basically I absorb the damage so my team don't have to, that's the idea anyway. And even at the start of this replay I'm still going in my head, row 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 your TOG. It's just a feel good tank. Look at the school bus. See, another comment straight at the start of the game. People just love this tank. It's a happy, fun tank. Now, this is why people think the TOG is bad. I am currently going 14 kilometers per hour. It's very slow. Very, very, very slow. So a TOG is often late to the party. But when it gets to the party, it has a good time. I try to drive my TOG in the most direct route possible to find the Reds. In this circumstance, I am just taking my TOG straight towards the cap. If the Reds are hiding, a TOG in the cap circle is pretty much guaranteed to bring them out of hiding. Now, as I mentioned earlier, and you will see from that first shot, I did try going for the track wheel because, well, and again here, track wheeling tanks will keep them in front of you, and with a 4.3 second reload, you will literally tear them apart. And there is a KV2. And I am angling against the KV2 because if I don't angle, he can penetrate me. Saying that, he doesn't have the 152 mil, so I don't care. I'm just going to go past him and just keep shooting. So, 2 down, 3 down, and now we are after the VK, who we have just set on fire, and 1 more into there, and is he going to keep burning? No, the PZ gets him. But yeah, if you come up against a KV2, they love TOGs purely because they can penetrate it all day long. However, if you angle ever so slightly, well, a KV2 can't penetrate the TOG when it's angled. And within the time frame it takes him to shoot you and reload another shell, you will literally tear him apart. This one was recorded just prior to the nerf on the BDR, which is why he has that absurd rate of fire, and I am getting shot from both sides, and you kind of don't care in a TOG because, well, I've lost a lot of health, but I still have an awful lot of health. So I can afford to take the damage, and I'm more prioritising that T-34 than anything else because he was running through my team. Now I've angled myself towards the building and away so I can block that BDR's shots, or at least try to. As we do that, an MT-25 comes from the other side. So now we have a BDR on the right and an MT-25 on the left. And in the position we are here, we are angled very, very well against them both. So we can get 1 shot into him, which, by the way, the gun on the TOG is fantastic. When you need to make shots like that, let it fully aim, and you will literally get it straight in, nearly every single time. In this circumstance, I'm just going to keep driving pretty much through the reds there. So, we pretty much sat out in the open, and we pretty much didn't stop shooting, which means we got a first class 2,814 damage, 60,000 credits, and 2 kills. All in all, we did considerably more damage than the rest of the team. I think I stayed on this screen a little bit too long, but if we then flick to team... Hey, there we go. Yeah, we're the only person over 1,000. I don't think that's because the team were bad, I think it's because, well, TOG is the life of the party. And people like to shoot the TOG. And when the TOG's out in the open, it attracts reds to it. But, do you want to know what's better than a TOG in battle? Yep, a TOG platoon. Now we are in a tier 7 game, and I am in a TOG platoon with my good friend Petrolhead. And I've recommended we go right, purely because that ridge right in front of us we can use to actually hide the majority of our tank, and as a result keep it protected while still firing at them. The TOG has 7 degrees of gun depression, which I'm pointing at here in chat. Use gun depression on ridge. With the 7 degrees of gun depression, we can go up to this ridge in front of us, hide the vast majority of that hull, and there is a vast amount of that hull, but hiding it and then using the gun depression to just stick your turret over the edge. Now that doesn't make the TOG invulnerable. In fact, my personal recommendation is when you see a TOG, just aim for the turret. Purely because if he's angling, you will more than likely bounce off the side, and the front is not guaranteed, but is fairly easy to penetrate, but rather than risk it, just aim for the turret. If a TOG is trying to side scrape or is side scraping, turret's pretty much guaranteed every single time. And you may have noticed 13 minutes into this I have just called it TOG. I haven't called it the TOG 2. No, it's not the TOG 2. I'm not illiterate, I can talk properly, I can read. It's just TOG. And TOG saw its mortal enemy, KV2. TOG is now targeting the KV2, except TOG has an extra TOG with it. So 2 TOGs versus a KV2. It's not a happy KV2. Especially when a TOG can pull off shots like that. That's a shot only KV2s could dream of. Now again, the downside to the TOG, obviously as we mentioned earlier, is the speed. Yeah, now the thing is, it's so slow, I'm not even going to get to do any more damage to that KV2. In the time we have all been focusing and prioritising this KV2, if you look at the minimap, my team has been flanked by all the rest of the reds. Which means I'm going to use the ridge by here, turn back around, and basically do the same thing I intended to do from the other side. Use the ridge to protect the vast majority of my tank, and just put shot after shot in from long range. I have nothing to side scrape against while I'm here, so I will use those 7 degrees of gun depression. As you can see, I'm backing off. Well, hang on. Now I'm backing off until the vast majority is hidden, which it is now. If I reversed any more, well, I wouldn't be able to shoot back. So this is the point where I can't go any further, but obviously the most of my tank is hidden. And being as they are completely ignoring me right now, and they are focusing down my team, purely because, well, I imagine, I can't believe I'm going to say these words, there's not much of me showing, it's easier to hit the tanks who are fully exposed. It's not very often you hear the words, "You could barely see my tog." And now the T-34 has spotted me. And again, they just keep ignoring me. So it means I can just keep putting fire back into these guys. So there's one more into him. And he has penetrated me, which is my first bit of health lost. And one more, T-3485 is down. And now we're on to the SP-1C. You will notice, by the way, that my gunner has been hit, which is why my aiming circle is so big. But I still managed to go bang on target on that Panther. Oh, I love my TOG, I really do. It's like a KV-2, just bigger, stupid looking, with a fast rate of fire, and an insane health pool. So yeah, I'm not disputing the TOG's a bad tank, but because it's so bad, it's good. And I know that's such a strange thing to say. But look how slow it is. It takes ages to get to the battle. But it's got that massive hit point pool. And those last two on my team now are literally taking my team apart. So they've taken 2 out just then. So we're now in a 2-on-2 situation. And I've got one under the track. And the SP-1C has either not targeted me there or has missed. I don't know how you could miss the butt of a TOG. I think, in all honesty, he was after the T-150 on my team, who has just finished him off. However, it's funnier to think he missed the rear end of a TOG. Okay, so we managed to get a shot underneath the terrain into that enemy AMX with the aiming circle that big. But that AMX is about to take out my T-150 on my team. We get one more shot in with that massive aiming circle. And now I can repair or heal my gunner, which gives me that fantastic accuracy again. And that AMX is dead. So that's 4 kills to the TOG. And I still had a shed ton of health left. And that was 2,300 damage, 42,000 credits, 4 kills and a first class in a tier 7 game. Yeah, it's a fun tank. Now this game, I actually do less damage than some of the previous games you've seen. However, my TOG takes a beating in this game. I am actually trying to take my TOG up the hill here. I'm never going to get there by the time the enemy medium tanks do, but I still wanted to get my TOG up the hill on mines. Now obviously we're on mines, so the natural assumption is the enemy team is going to be pushing, or the mediums and light tanks anyway, will be pushing for the hill. That doesn't happen. This enemy, well, this friendly VK stops right by here, and then I get shot in the side. Now, I don't know whether he stopped to let me pass because he's very kind, or because he saw them, and I took the shot for him, which to be honest isn't a bad thing. That's exactly what the TOG should do. Absorb damage for your team. So there are 3 reds in front of us here, and I am taking the first or front line. This VK is coming out to shoot the front of my TOG. He knows exactly what he is doing. That M7 just keeps bouncing off the side of my TOG. So although the VK knows to pull out and shoot the front of my TOG because he can't penetrate my side, it does mean that I can just pretty much keep him tracked, keep him where I want to. And although there are 3 reds firing at us, we're still in a better situation than they are because we have lots and lots and lots of health. So it doesn't matter. And we are literally taking all the damage, basically so our team don't have to. Now again, this BDR is prior to 3.7, so he does have that fantastic rate of fire, but we still managed to finish him off quickly. And now we just have the M7 left, so we are back to side-scraping the M7 shots. Oh, he's bounced so much off the side of my TOG. And now my team's rushing in to kill the M7. But the M7 is creeping out to get this VK, and can we ninja the kill? Yes, we do. So yeah, until the team came at the very end then, we were literally in a 3-on-1 situation. And I must admit, I think we did a fantastic job. We side-scraped that one. If we didn't side-scrape it and we just pulled out and just kept going, all 3 of them would have been able to penetrate me, and all 3 of them would have killed me very quickly. However, with the side-scraping, they couldn't. The other thing I haven't mentioned, actually, is if you're going to die in your TOG, or your TOG's about to die, what you want to do is park it somewhere. or put it in a position which either your team could use your hull to hide, or if your team can't use your hull to hide, block a path, like the path on mine's by here. You can just park up. When you're dead, then you're just blocking it entirely. No one can get up the hill then. I am going to load an APCR for that ARL-44. I want to guarantee the kill because I am very, very low health. And did you see that shot over the top of the rocks by there on that Churchill, by the way? Barely anything of him showing. Now we are on 5 kills, and the last one is over here. However, I need to tread carefully because I only have 24 health. Well, there's a cliff in front of me, and I need to try and get down the cliff if I want to get to this tank. Togs and cliffs don't go well together, so you need to be very, very careful with them. Or your tog might just fall off, hit the bottom, and wreck all your health. So I am going to try and lean as much as I can without going over the cliff. I'm not going to get a shot from here, though, so I do need to pull forward a little bit more. And I'm still not going to get a shot, so I need to put forward a little bit more, and then down we go. And now my tog, as you can see, I'm pushing forward, and it's taking me ages to get off the rocks because, well, the tog's so long. And by the time I've done that, the last one is killed on the team. So that is the end of the game. We got a mastery badge for that one. We got our high caliber, 2,300 damage, and 38,000 credits. So yeah, all in all, what do I think of the tog? I love it. It's a bad tank, and it's a bad tank which makes it so, so good. People underestimate it, people laugh when they see it, and people just love this tank in general, just because it's a tog. There's no other reason. It's just because it's a tog. It's a great tank. I am well aware, by the way, how confusing it is to say it's a bad tank. And by being a bad tank is what makes it a good tank. But there is some logic in it. More than anything, it's just a tog. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video, guys. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.